Yep. Big fucking close up of Callum.
I have absolutely no idea where to look while we're doing this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to look directly at the camera. We're meant to just be looking at each other.
I'm just going to look at Callum.
Oh, good.
I'm so used to staring at your face all these years. Now there's a third person here. I can
just do it that way. So I'm still reading the paper. It's really rude.
It is really rude.
It is.
What?
I only bought it for that Karen Gillan article, which was a bit of a disappointment. I'm not gonna lie. So
anyway, okay, so welcome to, well, we don't know what to call it yet, but we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about some film stuff, kind of a bit like the Buncast, but we don't really know. So the topic for today is, can a film be scary? Can it be frightening? Now the reason we're discussing this is because Callum and I have had some conversations. I find this a little bit strange, right? Callum has never found a film frightening. It's never frightening.
It's because I'm so hard, obviously.
Yeah. Or he doesn't pay attention. Right.
More likely.
Right. He doesn't find any film scary. Now, obviously, I'm like a really big horror fan, and was talking to Alan about it as well. And you were talking about how you didn't know if there was a difference between being disturbed and being scared, whether you'd been really scared of something. So, Callum, let's start with you then. Why don't you find anything scary?
I think it's kind of from the point of view that I've generally never found something scary. It's maybe, like you say, the concentration thing. I just do not engage with this stuff probably, but it's also kind of the same thing that, like, stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that, when it scares people and you've got someone kind of running in and going, oh, he's going to chop me up. I'm
don't find Texas
I don't mind. It's because I don't connect with it most of the time. I'm just like, the people that are getting killed, I'm kind of like, that's alright, I don't care. I don't care if you die. So I don't have any attachment to it, so I don't care.
But do you not think though that it's really about the sort of the danger of like the idea of putting yourself in that sort of situation rather than sort of saying like, oh, I'm not attached to the characters really, like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. I think it's a really uncomfortable film to watch because I think there are things in it that are really. It's like you were talking earlier about the difference between being disturbed. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is quite disturbing. But
no, certainly said so. Yeah.
But it's like it's the John Smeaton thing, the guy from Leslie Airport. You just leather him. No pun intended. Obviously, the leather face. But it's just. But I think what's always kind of been closest to me from being scared is when you get like an actual person that's a psychopath. Psychopath. Someone that passes around in a psychotic manner. But a psychopath who's like quite methodical, logical, intelligent, like Hannibal Lecter or something like that. To me, someone who's got a greater control of their situation, not through like physical intimidation, but through using their mind. I think that's almost more scary, because if you've got someone like Leatherface or something like that, he's just a nutcase. And he's going to cause you physical harm. He's going to chop your fucking arm off. But at the same time,
chop your arm off and he walks away.
That's right. We've come to a crossroads. So I've chopped your arm off. What else can we do? But I think that like there's also this point as well where it's just kind of like, is that all you do? There's no kind of depth to them, so it just kind of gets me a bit boring. But I think it's just a lot of it's just not engaging with material, and it's not that I don't like horror films. It's just like, for example, Blair Witch. I hated that. I was so
But I think a lot of people found like Blair Witch was the strange one for me, because did you go to see it in the cinema?
I didn't actually. No.
I went to see it in the cinema, and with Blair Witch it was like we went to see it. There was so much hype surrounding it, and then. Sat there and watched it, and then when my friends came out like that, just like, what was that? Like it wasn't frightening at all. Then the next day we all spoke to each other, and the ending, the finale of Blair Witch, I don't want to ruin it, but the finale of it, the last image that you see, like really played with all of us like throughout the night, that it had been in our minds, and I think that's the mark of a film that, because you were saying earlier on before we started filming about the difference between how do you know if something's scary? And I said that I thought that it was like if you think about it when you turn the lights off when you go to sleep, or if you're walking home. What do you think about
Well, I mean, I think the Blair Witch is an interesting one because I remember before I'd even seen it, I actually found just reading about it, because I think I had the plot spoiled for me fairly early and I knew what was going to happen. I think just even the idea of it, I found that quite disturbing. I think it was
getting lost in the...
Well, I think it's also the slight element of not knowing, because I think kind of a lot of it is sort of left to the imagination, and I think it's the same kind of in a way with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think a lot of it is done through suggestion. It's not what you see, it's what you're imagining is going to be far, far worse than anything they can put on the screen, I think. And I think it's maybe it's the same that if you have too much imagination, that's what really
sometimes I wonder that, because my girlfriend thinks that. She'll be like, no wonder you're messed up, because she'll be like, all the horror books that you read, all of the horror films, the stuff that I write tends to be sort of horror or supernaturally based, and I'm also interested in parapsychology and things like that. So she's like,
parapsychologist,
paraplegic psychologist. Yeah, I'm sorry, but
there's a TV series in that.
Is there? Oh dear Lord! I thought you were actually telling me there was one.
That wasn't what Ironside was about.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what might have gone through my mind actually.
But yeah, I think that some people do get more, like you were talking about, not feeling like engaged by it. But is there any film, right? Because you said to me that there's never been a film that's terrified you, really frightened you. Is there any film that has actually stayed with you after you've watched it and you thought, Jesus, an image from it or a situation you thought, man, that's...
It's a good question. I mean, there's certain films that horrify me, but it's been more their content rather than anything else.
Like, this is rubbish.
Uwe Boll productions and stuff like that.
Classics. Every one of them a classic.
Yeah, that's right.
Ray Liotta and what was it?
Dungeon Siege?
Name of the King. The Name of the King. Ray Liotta, what are you doing?
I think for me, obviously, when I was a child, I saw the Demon Headmaster, and that was a peak for me. And after that, nothing really come close to that kind of level of sheer horror. No, I think nothing.
You're obscure British television. No one's going to have seen.
Aqua. Do you remember that one? That was about the. It was a bunch of kids, right, that found a Roman spaceship, as you do, and it lived up a tree. What? And they used to climb up to this tree to get this invisible spaceship. And it wasn't called Aqua, it was called Aquila. And they just fuck about the countryside in this spaceship. Just not telling their
pals. Did that scare you?
The idea of it scared me. The fact that these kids had this, and the fact that the Romans had spaceships. And to be fair, honest, I'm glad they were stopped. Because if it got to the point where they'd had more than one of these spaceships, then conquest would have been complete.
I think though that, I mean, for me, obviously I recently did a top 10 list of films that messed me up as a kid, and I think it's interesting that revisiting some of the films that did scare you later on, and I've watched some of them recently, and some of them stood up over the years and some of them didn't, but was there anything as a kid specifically for you that was, because I think that's the time when you're going to get most frightened, but because you don't really have that logical part that's going to come in and go, it's only a film. When you're a kid, you don't have that unless you were just a freak and you had that all along, right? But was there anything, Alan, that you...
well, the Brave Little Toaster, I think, scared the ever-loving bejesus out of me when I was a kid. But I think it was just the fact that up until then I kind of associated, that cartoons were this sort of bright, happy, kind of cheerful world where nothing went wrong, really, and then suddenly you've got this really quite alarming, almost, I think it is a kind of a horrific film. There's a kid's film. I mean, I think there's something quite horrific about this journey that the appliances have to make, kind of across the wilderness, and particularly the scenes in the scrapyard, I think, where these sort of menacing, doomed, sort of vehicles are kind of taunting the still living appliances. It's
I thought you said mincing for a moment there. These mincing big machines. Woohoo! I think what was actually quite a dark show as a kid was the Moomins. Sorry to just bring this off on a tangent, but that was, I think that was Swedish television, but that was really, really dark.
I was Callum watching Swedish television.
No, it was on in this country.
It was on in this.
I don't remember enough about the movements to.
But there was, I mean, the one of the person they rocked about with was a wee witch, but stuff that would not like like from a
Anyway, away from, well, I'd just like to say Watership Down, anyone that was the cartoon that did that for me, but
Plague Dogs.
You were saying though, right? You were saying that you felt there was you weren't sure if anything had ever really frightened you. It was more that you felt something disturbed you. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know. I think it's just I can never quite divorce myself from the idea that I'm sitting watching a film, but I still get a bit freaked out by I don't know whether it's almost there's something slightly voyeuristic about it in a way that I feel like I don't feel myself in that situation, but I do feel a certain amount of empathy towards the characters. It's kind of like. I don't know whether it's almost the feeling that you're watching people going through horrible things and there's nothing that you can do about it. I don't feel it's so much that that might happen to me. I think it's more the oh God, look, it's what's happening to other people almost.
Well, maybe that just means that you're more altruistic than I am, but I do I tell you that there are, again going back to the imagination thing, there are some films that do really scare me, and I think the idea of like ghost stories particularly really frighten me. The idea of something that's immaterial, that you don't know where it is, that you don't know what it is, that sort of thing really scares me. Like The Changeling, I don't know if either of you have seen that. Not Changeling with Angelina Jolie, The Changeling with George C. Scott. It's got a bit of a bizarre ending to it, but it's about a guy who has lost his family and he moves into this house, and while he's still grieving, he starts being haunted by the ghost of a child in this house, and it's about him trying to find out what happened to the child. And there are moments in it that are really, really frightened me, really, because he was I think the loneliness, like he was alone in that house, and maybe that is it. Maybe it is just your imagination putting yourself in that situation. Any film I watch, and it's something I've said, I have to say, I'm really ashamed to admit this. I don't like if I see a film that's got like a female protagonist, with obviously the exception of the Alien franchise, right? If I see a film with a female protagonist, often I'll have a slight aversion to it. I'll then maybe watch the film and really enjoy it, but maybe it's because I can't really put myself in her shoes.
But you'd like to.
Her pants. Sorry. Alright, so the main problem I have is that I feel like if you don't, how can you really enjoy a horror film if you don't find it scary?
Yeah, I mean, you can take something from it.
Yeah, I think you can still find it exciting.
Plus themes as well are, interesting. It's just another way of telling.
You still enjoy the story, the plot, characters. Visual quality.
I do think that there are films that are technically horror movies that aren't scary. In fact, I like what I often call cozy horror, because it's not
The Raven.
Yeah, it's not that frightening. It's something that I'll enjoy, and I don't have to be up for the rest of the night like that. Jesus Christ, what just happened there? Not that happens.
Audition.
I happened to audition, but that's a different matter.
Were you freaked out by audition?
No, I was actually annoyed with it, because I thought that I thought audition was like
kitty.
It was just torture porn.
Yeah.
Beautiful torture porn. Horrible. But I'm not really into a film like Saw, for example, which I've only watched once. It was in the cinema, and I found it really effective, the first one. So it did have an effect on me, but there was a reason to all the carnage that was going on. Whereas, to me, torture porn's when you just don't need to do it.
Do you know the kind of genesis how it started? Saw. It was basically two Australian guys that went into the studio with some stuff that they'd shot.
What are you talking about?
Saw. This is how Saw started, right? Basically, they went in.
They had Genesis, the band.
That's what I thought when you said
Genesis.
You know how I Can't Dance?
They had a games console named after them. But basically what happened was it was two Australian guys that walked into the office of the studio and basically said, look, we've shot part of this film, have a look at it. And they reviewed the tape and they said, this looks really good, let's give you the money, let's get it started. What they should have gone is,
Was that James Wan?
Fucking loopy.
Was that James Wan?
I don't know. That's all I know of this story. I just wanted to.
Is that because he? I thought James Wan like wrote and directed it.
I'm pretty sure they got to direct it. The people that kind of originally.
Oh no, I think you're right. That I think there are two people. I think it's James Wan and someone else.
I'm pretty sure it's two.
Anyway, so really, do we have anything else to say about?
I think that's our first.
I think we've covered it all.
Episode wrapped.
I don't even know if this camera's picking me up.
Aye.
Okay, right. So until next time, I'm sure we'll come up with a name for this
segment.
Some other great topics. If you have any ideas about any topics to discuss or anything about what we've just talked about, you know, what do you think is
if you've been affected by the issues in this program?
Yeah, there is a number you can call. You know, other films.
It made some of the Ghostbusters.
He keeps talking over me. He's such a dick.
We're also accepting donations.
He did it as well.
We're also accepting donations because this is quite an expensive company to run.
Don't start that. Don't start that. We're not going down that route. We're not going down that route. So yeah, are there any films that you found frightening, or do you not get that freaked out by movies? And what do you think about Callum's shirt?
Boss.
And that's like a boss.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just hope there's not going to be any fixed noise pattern. Goes for these vertical strikes.
Well, who cares? It's the first time we've done this, and it's kind of a bit impromptu. So
comments are really doing that guy's shirt strobing.
I'm off. I'll see you later.
See you later. Word up.
Well,
edit that out.
I'll clear the shit up.
Oh.